one of the things that has me very perplexed is, I see so many people pass on to the next life, having had great lives, but still leaving so many of the important jobs of life unattended. They've left life insurance, but not a will. They've had a beautiful family, but spent too much time at work. They've had a great life, but never shared their story. And it seems incongruent, even careless sometimes. I don't like taking a careless approach to your legacy, to one's own legacy. As Jim Rohn, the father of personal development, once said, carelessness leads to casualties. Welcome back to the Limitless Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, GM Palazzo, and it's always a pleasure to be here with you today. Limitless Legacy, this is where we come to talk about how you can create, rule, and expand your legacy every day. Last time we spoke a little bit about, the generalities and the intro on creating, ruling, and expanding your legacy. Today we're going to focus a little bit more about that creation stage without getting into full detail, but go over some specific questions why some people never keep it up, why some people never begin this process of creating their legacy. So one of the things that has me very perplexed is, I see so many people pass on to the next life, having had great lives, but still leaving so many of the important jobs of life unattended. They've left life insurance, but not a will. They've had a beautiful family, but spent too much time at work. They've had a great life, but never shared their story. And it seems incongruent, even careless sometimes. I don't like taking a careless approach to your legacy, to one's own legacy. As Jim Rohn, the father of personal development, once said, carelessness leads to casualties. I love that phrase because when I start getting careless, I get to identify it pretty quick, and I definitely don't want casualties in and around me, in and around my legacy. So I have this question for you all today. Why don't most people search for a limitless legacy? And you might say, hey, GM, that's pretty harsh. I think everyone's doing their best and they're all striving for a better life. And I agree. I think most people do their best with the resources and the information they have at the time. I've gone back and done a lot of personal work and forgiven my parents and even my forefathers, generations before, without even knowing them, on their mistakes and their whatever legacies that negatively have maybe impacted our family in some way, because I'm sure they were doing their best with the decisions that they had available, with the resources they had available, and the information they had available. But this question is, why don't most people search continuously for this limitless legacy? And I want to break down what I think are four of the key types of people out there, and maybe why this isn't happening on a more consistent basis. The first is, I think that they don't know what's possible. They haven't thought about it, or they're consumed by a reactionary life, and maybe they just don't have that many goals, and they don't see that opportunity. And this is where we sort of bring in the question, is life fair? And I just got done speaking with a group of people about this. Is life fair? And obviously the answer is no. Life isn't fair. We see it all the time. We see it on the news. We see it on the street. We don't need to go very far to understand that life isn't fair. So if you have your basic needs taken care of, if you have certain blessings, a job, you have people that depend on you and you have leadership in your life, you're definitely blessed and you have more of that fair side in life. There's billions of people in the world that are born into misery, not even poverty, misery, and have to fight and scratch for everything that they have, even for just basic sustenance. That definitely is not fair. But going back to comparing and analyzing why people aren't in search for a limitless legacy, I want to make the comment, the waiver, that my consideration is about people that have the opportunity to consistently search for this limitless legacy, that don't have to be worried about drinking clean water or figuring out where they're going to get food the next day. So is it that they just don't have many goals, or are they just pleasure-oriented and pain-averse? Because we make decisions based on those two things for the most part. Will it give me pleasure, or will it give me pain? And if it gives me pain, I probably don't want it. And if it gives me pleasure, I probably do want it. But if we only focus on the pleasure, then we're going to be probably big fat slobs with sedentary lifestyles. And if we don't learn to get comfortable and appreciate pain and uncomfort, then we're never going to have that growth and scratch the potential of that limitless legacy. So are these people in this first category the ones that don't know it's possible, or they're just consumed by a reactionary lifestyle? Are they just always living in this immediate pleasure economy that is taking over the world, where I want something now, I get it in 20 minutes, and I don't need to really work for it. I don't need to really strive and get these goals that I'm striving for on a long-term basis. I look at this first category of people as passengers in life, as on an airplane in row 28 or row 33, or they just maybe have no interest in flying and getting into the cockpit, and they don't know that it's possible. I remember when I was a kid, I grew up reading the Choose Your Own Adventure books. There are these adventure books of different themes, and I had dozens of these books. And at the end of every page or 2 pages, they had options. You had 2 or 3 options, and you could make that option, and it would ask you, jump to page 22 if you open the door, jump to page 54 if you choose to leave through the window. And so I would read these books and find all the different permutations and different routes for the ending of the books, and it would have multiple endings, and they were great. They were great reading for a young man at that time. And what I took away from those books is that really your life is the accumulation of all your decisions. You're the captain, the pilot of your life. And I learned that at a very young age. I know some people who are still 27, 30 years old, and they're full passengers in life. So what you're going to be, are you going to be the pilot, or are you going to be the passenger? And if you're looking and striving for a limitless legacy, you're definitely the pilot in your life. And that takes on leadership in life. And when we become leaders, whether by fortune or luck or by choice, which is the majority of us, there are no more excuses. As a leader, you can't be a good, successful, consistent leader if you're thinking that life is unfair and that you have a bunch of excuses. You got to suck it up. You got to deal with those consequences. You got to move forward. So that's what I think is the first category of those people that aren't searching for a limitless legacy. The second category is that I just think there's a bunch of lazy people out there. I think it's really, they choose not to. They know they have the opportunity. They know that there's the other way of, just relaxing and chilling out. And they don't want to work for it too much, or they think that it's not worth it, or they just want to go with the flow, or they want to take it easy and chill. And you might think with those words, you think like, a surfer or something like that. But I know surfers, and surfers are not people who are really just relaxing and chilling out. No, they're focused, and they're going out there with a purpose, and there's connection in that process. And a lot of the surfers I know are super uber successful. So they've developed this, and they have this long-term vision. So who is it that is this lazy group? And I like to think that there's a divine obligation to life in putting in the work. And that work is that divine obligation. It's part of the deal that we come here with. And it's put in our way to achieve some sort of transcendence at some point. And I think, at least personally in my experience, the work has, and when I talk about the work, it can be a job, it can be the work that you have to go do, but the work that I talk about usually is self-work. And self-work is the most important work, in my opinion, because I think we're infinite, limitless, and timeless beings. And I think that gives us an opportunity to have that limitless legacy. So that self-work is such a huge component of what we do day in, day out, our disciplines, our work ethic, our search for being a better you than you were yesterday, having that progress, of just doing that 1% better today. I think that's being on that path, and having that progress is a divine commitment. And I encourage all of you to continue on that path. The third group is one that, it's very common, and I just think that they don't know how. And I think they're interested in the idea of developing a limitless legacy. They want to go forward. They're sort of trying to do it, but they don't know how. They're waiting for the how, not necessarily they have the why clear. And I think that when we're always waiting for the how, and we're frozen in that aspect, we need to focus more on the why. Why are we choosing this path? Who's going to benefit from this limitless legacy? How am I going to develop as a person? Who am I going to become as a person as I move forward in this limitless legacy? And I think that those are the more important questions than necessarily the how, because there's a million ways to get to that limitless legacy, at least to get to that progress of eventually finding and getting closer and closer to that limitless legacy. Because we're all going to start at different points. We're all going to have different priorities. We're all going to have different pressures. We're all going to be facing a different battle. We're all going to be in a storm at some point that's going to affect either our health, our finances, our relationships, our spiritual connection, anything. And so all of those paths will be completely different. So those that don't know how, they think they need a specific drawn out plan. And there are many people out there that have given plans. In my book, I give the 6 legacy elements, on what to focus on a short-term basis and on a long-term basis, so that you have that micro and macro development. And we'll talk about those more in future episodes. They think they need a mentor, and mentors are great. They think they need a coach, and coaches are necessary. I'm a coach to dozens of clients, and there's value there. I have my own coaches. So definitely there's refinement in the how. But don't get stuck. And what I want to rescue out of this category of people is, don't get stuck and don't get frozen and don't stop moving because you don't have your how clear. The third and the fourth group, and probably the one I want to dedicate the most time to, because I think it's the one that a lot of us are in as well, or we have some percentage of this, is that they're scared. They're scared of failing. They're scared of succeeding, even in getting closer to this limitless legacy. they're scared of the sacrifice. They know exactly what it takes. They know the past and how that past has formed them with fear, shame, and guilt for their past failures, striving for this limitless legacy. And, this is a group that really needs to band together, because you've been close to it before, you've been on that path before, and now you feel hurt because you went for it. And that shouldn't be it. That shouldn't be the excuse. That shouldn't be the reason why we're not going for it again, or in a different manner, or in a different path. And I think that if you're in this group and you feel that level of guilt and shame and fear, I feel you. I've been there. I've lost, I've built up big companies and lost millions of dollars in the process. I've had more failures than I've had successes. I've started more projects than I have finished them. But that's not going to be the reason why I'm going to stop. Let's remember, even the best baseball players in history only get hits 30% of the time. You have to keep on swinging. What I tell my kids when we play basketball, shooters keep on shooting, and I'm a shooter. Are you going to be a shooter? Are you going to be stepping up to bat? Or are you going to let one time that they hit you with the ball, or one time that you get thrown out, or one time that you strike out when everyone's depending on you, be the definition of your legacy? I hope not. Not even the best. Not even the Tom Brady's or the Hank Aarons or the Michael Jordans did it 100% of the time. They missed shots. They lost games. But they wanted it in their hands. They wanted the opportunity. They wanted to be there. So when it's getting closer to the end of your time, are you going to regret not taking those opportunities? And that's what I don't want you to do. I don't want your legacy scattered with regrets. To get to a limitless legacy, we have to overcome those regrets. We have to overcome those failures. We have to get to that next level. Finding those new opportunities, finding what's true inside of us is a process. Usually, we're thinking what's true, but it's just filters or outside influences, and our mind is working to help us, but it's also working against us. And many times we're lying to ourselves. It's important to identify when you're lying to yourself. The truth will only be verified by your soul. And the closer you get to your limitless legacy, the more your soul will be involved. The more your soul will tell you, this is the truth. So, I know you think it's possible. I know you're not a passenger in life. I know you're not lazy. I know you're working your butt off every day, professionally, with your family, personally, with your body, with your health, with your relationships, with your spiritual connection. And I know that you're not waiting for someone to just come and give you an outline. I know you're reading books. I know you're consuming content. I know you're looking to always refine yourself, and that constant and never-ending improvement and development. But where I want you to be careful is in this last group. Because of failures, because of past pains, because you're scared, even of losing relationships along the way, if you get close to that limitless legacy, it might have to be the price you pay. How can we develop? How can we get to bring those relationships and have the tide bring us all up with that limitless legacy? How can you bring your people along with you? That's leadership. That's development. That's my wish for you guys. And as we go on working on our limitless legacy, we have to have that vision. We have to have a clear vision. Is it big enough? Wow, sometimes I question if my vision is big enough. And if it doesn't scare you, if that vision is not really getting you out of bed in the morning, and also at the same time, when you look at yourself in the mirror, questioning whether you can do it or not, whether you're going to risk it to really go for it, then it's probably not big enough. My invitation to you guys is get clarity on your vision. Never stop. And that's the first way we begin to create our legacy. And in next episodes, we'll get into other ways on how we can continue to create our legacy more and more. So give your comments about this episode. Tell me what you thought. Tell me what questions you have. Tell me where you are stuck and how we can push through this together and how I can help you along the way. Remember, we're here for your limitless legacy and how to create, rule, and expand it every day. Thanks a lot. Stay tuned for next episode.